you've heard the Singapore 2040, you've heard Ming Fai's presentation about the pilot. What are you most excited by, Kevin, or what are you most terrified of?
Well, I'm excited by things that are going on, things that we don't know about, and the possibilities that they bring. At the same time, I think, with every opportunity, there are also risks. We experimented with Gen AI with our Kabi kind of chatbot on our website. That's very exciting because it gives very contextual information to our guests. But at the same time, we are also thinking, right, whether there are downside to that. We talk about hallucination, we talk about security of Gen AI, which is still in a fairly early stage of development. We are also looking into the future to say if this can bring us new opportunities in transactional capabilities with Gen AI. So it's not just about asking about a place, a property, but making room bookings as well as making reservations, putting in your preference, telling the property what you want in your room, how you want it to be set up, and so on and so forth. Right. But along with these good opportunities, I'm also thinking in the back of my mind the risk that comes along with it.
Right, so experimenting with it, playing with it, learning from it, and then trying to push it further and further, right? So, Belinda, what are you most excited or terrified about?
So maybe I go broad a little bit in terms of the role of Singapore and being a tourism hub. I think what excites me is we are continually reinventing ourselves. What terrifies me is that the world is looking at what we're doing and they are following and catching up very, very quickly, and one day they may surpass us. Which brings me back to the point that, it's great to have this very vibrant tourism hub where we've got a lot of world-class IPs, so like the very exciting Harry Potter and the likes. It's equally important for us to create our own global IP to export to the rest of the world, right? So I think that is the part that excites me, right? The opportunity for Singapore to create tourism concepts that are compelling not just for Singapore, but for the rest of the world. Like, why can't we export the Harry Potter equivalent to another country, right? So that is the part that I think is truly white space for us. And in terms of technology, I think what worries me the most is about trust. I was at another speaking event yesterday, and I was sharing that these days I pick up the phone. Sometimes I don't really want to talk into it, because you don't really know whether somebody's mining your voice to go do some fraud, right? So I actually wait for about 5 to 10 seconds before I start speaking. And I think in this day and age, fake news, there was this piece of content on Instagram that I saw, this beautiful, beautiful resort, but all created by Gen AI.
Yeah,
that resort actually does not exist.
Yeah. And that is a really good point, because, Melissa, in her talk, said that was Singapore's unique differentiator is trust, right? That people need to trust Singapore, so that's good.
Absolutely.
All right. So Byron, you're a small business, you employ 20 people. How terrified are you now, listening to people like Google, and then you got Ascott here, how terrified are you as a small business?
I think the first thought that we have is that this actually is more of an opportunity, right? Because as a small business, we really need to think about how we can be more creative. And a lot of times, people don't really see themselves. If you ask everybody in the audience today, like, do you think you're a creative person? A lot of people may not say yes, right? But I feel Gen AI actually gives us the opportunity to be braver in terms of our creativity, and even makes the process of creativity easier. Why this is important is because it allows us to create new tour experiences, to generate new tour experiences that really could meet evolving market needs, right? Now, what actually terrifies me is that on the other side, the customer is actually expecting that as well, right? And the customer has a very high level of expectation of what Gen AI is able to do, maybe before we even get there. Exactly. So that is if we want to bridge this gap between what the customer is expecting of what they think that we can now produce because of AI, and how we can actually deliver that. So that's a little bit scary to think about. Yeah.
But it is a creative buddy, actually. So it's your creative brainstorming buddy, and at the same time, it is for your customers too. Now, so I talked about the beginning about, this is a shift in the machine-human interface, right? So before we get into what you're doing with the machines, let's get to know you as humans, right, first. So I read up, Byron, you went straight from air warfare officer to starting a tourism business. So what is it like going from war to peace?
Well, the job as an air warfare officer is actually quite fun. So I think I fit into this industry quite well, right? Like, we like to have fun. And I mean, I could tell my whole life story over here, right? Yeah, but we're not going to go into that. I think more importantly is that this is a really fun industry to be in, or at least I belong to the fun side of it, okay? I'm in the space of experiences, so I belong to the fun side of this industry, and it's really not difficult to make that decision to take this leap, Also, I like to tell stories, yeah, and that's why running
and that's why you're on this panel.
That's
okay.
Right.
So, but Lina, your experience with Singapore Airlines, Amex, Mastercard, all right, and then you worked with a lot of humans, and now you're working with animals. So, who is more loyal, animals or humans?
Humans are also animals.
So diplomatic.
I just wanted to share that, I spent a good almost 20 years in Fortune's 50 most admired companies, very fortunate to have that. And coming to Mandai, back to earlier what I shared, was an opportunity for us to create the world's first integrated nature and wildlife destination, right? And inspired by Mr. Lee Kuan Yew's words for us, he shared that Singapore Zoo makes Singapore a better place for families and their children. And now I think with Mandai Wildlife Reserve, together with Mandai Wildlife Group, Mandai X, Mandai Nature, we aspire to make the world a better place where people and wildlife thrive together. And I think that that's just so meaningful. So I cannot answer your question because without humans, I think we cannot protect the world and animals. So both are equally loyal.
Absolutely, and you bring the love of animals to humans, right? So Kevin, you're really difficult to dig personal information on, but very difficult. But tell us a secret about yourself that people would not necessarily know. He told me he didn't want to be prepared.
Well, maybe something more generic. Well, I work in the hospitality industry, but I'm not from the industry per se, right? Because I studied as an engineer in school, and I went on to do a lot of tech implementation work with then Anderson Consulting and then Accenture. But I've been in hospitality and hospitality real estate for the past 17 years now.
Okay, all right. I will let you go with that. Because that was not a secret. But anyway, now that we've got to know you as humans, let's talk about how you're using the machines, right? So practical examples for our audience. I mean, we've heard that AI favors the big, right? Data loves the big. And Kevin, you have 77 new properties opening this year. So tell us how you're using data with cloud power to kind of enhance the customer experience when people come to your hotel.
So, I mean, I think about this more from the framework of maybe three aspects, right? Number one would be mindsets, because I feel that the implementation of technology is not so much the tech itself. The tech is very readily available, but more the mindsets of users and customers towards tech. So we do a lot of workshops and brainstorming within our team, really enabling our associates to understand what tech is and how to deliver tech to our customers as well as to our operations. The other think about how we architect our technology is really to go cloud first. Today there's a new baseline. If we're still on the on-premise type infrastructure where you have to buy your own servers and write your own programs, that's no longer relevant. The new baseline, if you want to use Gen AI, you really need to upgrade and go on the cloud. And a lot of these features are now on the cloud. We just had our own global conference just the last 2 days. Met kind of our guest service officer from a Paris property. And he told me that we have a Copilot that's implemented together with some of our Microsoft software. He has been able to kind of work with Copilot to be able to check in, check out guests, send bills, send requests, reply to queries very, very efficiently. So he tells me he saved 3 to 4 hours a day, every day, just using Copilot to help him with his task. I'm not advertising for Microsoft, but I'm just trying to send through kind of the concept of how Gen AI can eventually help us in our work, big and small.
Right. Okay, so we talked about being a creative party, and I just kind of generated this recently. If we can play the audio now, where, you know, I'm playing around with AI, so can we play that audio so we can share an example of how we can use it to be creative?
做些有趣、独特、因人乳生的事情，略为偏持常规的路径。而最能告诉你这些事情的最佳人选，那些了解并热爱自己居住地的当地人。这就是为什么我们创建了我的独立世界。这是一个由我们当地策展人精心挑选的体验市场。我们的策展人是对自己居住的充满激情，并希望分享他们对家乡独特见解的当地人。他们精心挑选的体验是用爱心制作的，充满激情，并且富有目的性的。有什么不好爱的呢？
So, I don't speak a word of Mandarin, but did you recognize that that was my voice? So what did you think of the quality? My mother got a shock when she heard it, and she said, when did you go in to learn Mandarin? But anyway, I wanted to bring it up as an example of, you know, voice AI and the ability to speak in 26 languages. And so to Byron and Belinda, talk to us about, you know, how you're creating some customer experiences, maybe with audio or not, or self-guided tours, with these new tools that are available now.
Yeah, okay, I can go first. So we're not really using AI to create our experiences at this stage, but what we are trying out is really in another realm. So I'm really talking about mixed reality. And what we've actually done recently is that we've developed an app that is able to act as a companion to our guides. Because if you really look at what's front and center of the customer experience, it is not something that is not human, right? What's front and center of our customer experience in our tours is still our tour guide. So what we really wanted to do is, how can we support our guide better in providing a better experience? So we've developed this app that at a very baseline level, it is a tool that the guide can use to tap onto a library of resources. And these resources are tagged onto each geolocation, right? So if they're at a particular location, they can whip up images, videos, audio clips, like we're talking about audios and images, that they can whip all this out to help add to their commentary. Okay. That's at a very basic level. At the next level though, what we can do now we have this platform is that we can put in AR games and features. And AR games and features make everything more immersive. Yeah, one thing that this app can do is, let's just say, for example, you're in Chinatown, right? And you are on a tour in Chinatown. And your guide is telling you something like, oh, by the way, you know, along Pagoda Street, there used to be, like the early immigrants had a very hard life, the coolies had very poor living conditions, but you can only hear that. Now, with an AR tool, what we can do is that install an AR portal on your phone. So the moment you lift up your phone, you see the street as it is, and in the middle of the street, you see a door. So you literally have to walk into the door, and once you walk into the door, you are inside another realm. You're inside a former coolie's quarters. Yeah, and you can go around 360 and you can see the whole quarters. I think it's a very, very immersive experience. My favorite part is when I turn back around to where the door was, I can see the street outside of the door again and I can walk out. Right? So it's a very good companion to the guide, because now the guide can be like, by the way, did you know I know the boss of former coolie's quarters, right? And he's invited me to go into a quarters. Like, he can enhance that storytelling experience.
So it's really to support the guide, enhance the experience, but not replace the guide, right?
Yes, not replace.
Right.
Yeah.
Belinda, how about you share with us how you're championing your purpose, because you really do have a purpose, right, about bringing the Mandai DNA and brand to the world, you know, while enhancing the visitor experience.
So we've got a big conundrum. So when I first joined Mandai from MasterCard, my friends were like, you're going to the zoo to do digital? Like, why does zoo need a digital experience, right? Because the objective when people visit Mandai is actually to enjoy nature, enjoy wildlife, and detox, not to be stuck to their digital devices. So it feels like a conundrum, right? We have to digitize, and yet, we're telling people to slow down, immerse. So we have a mantra in terms of deploying digital in Mandai, and that is digital is there to enable, to enhance, but not to hijack. So we do not want people staring at their devices all the time. We're very grateful that our Mandai flagship app is now one of the top performing at the attractions level. It serves as a compass, I'm going to call it, to nudge you, to overlay more information that helps you make the experience better. And if I were to use digital or technology in Night Safari, very proudly, first night zoo in the world, 30 years old this year, but we've got a very deep problem that we're also grappling with, right? Just like when you go dating, the lights is not so bright like what you have. It's like quite blur, dim, right? Very mystical, magical. You cannot see so clearly, right? So in Night Safari, we've created that very magic. But as a result, they cannot see the animals. So magical until animal visibility is a challenge. So we are experimenting with a whole host of, I'm going to call not so direct digital or technology hedges or hacks. We are trying to experiment with the light auto dimming, so we call it a smart lighting system. When a night where the moon is very bright, lux is quite strong, you dim the lights. But on a night when actually you cannot see the moon and it's completely covered by the clouds, you raise the lux level, right? So in that sense, you always maintain a certain level of lighting visibility. So that's one experiment and something that we're working on. The other one is audio, as you mentioned. So an audio guide that almost is like the keeper who's there accompanying you throughout your entire walking journey in the Night Safari. So these would be some of the ways that we're dealing with the guest experience, all with the purpose which is to inspire people to protect wildlife. But if they cannot see the wildlife, then it's going to be quite hard for them to feel inspired.
Yeah, but then maybe it incentivizes them to come back, right? And say, maybe I can see them better next time. But the words I'm hearing from you guys so far is, that Gen AI can serve as a companion, a keeper, a guide, and an agent, like, co-pilot helping your staff really. So really, those are very practical users, right? So now, so we've talked about customer experience. The other area is operations efficiency, right? I mean, Singapore, high cost, you got to bring costs down, how to be more productive. So let's talk about how tech is being used in this area to make you more efficient, maybe cut costs. Let's start to you first, because you have a lot of cost.
Yeah, and I think we do have a lot of initiatives as well. I'll name a few. I think we adopt a cloud-first approach. I think I would say 90–95% of our applications are all on the cloud. And if you look at the cloud, it allows you to kind of pull data together and be able to analyze that data quite efficiently. And then on top of that, we overlay automation. So if you have data and automation working hand in hand, the possibilities are actually quite great. We have what we call robotics process automations. We don't get agents in or consultants in to do that for us. We actually train our associates to be able to use those tools to automate daily processes for themselves. And of course, these days, I think technology is quite democratized. A lot of applications out there are on the SaaS platform. You pay as you use. And access to such technology is actually very readily available, whether it's a housekeeping app, whether it's a self-check-in app. There are all sorts of apps out there. But I think the key to having all these applications is really to be able to have an integration hub that allows all these applications to talk to each other. And I think that's that piece that we hold very closely to heart, whereby we actually develop our own integration hub to be able to talk to all the applications out there and to be able to analyze the data and overlay automation on the data.
Right. So you come from a technical background, Accenture, so talk to me about, and to all of you too, right? What is the biggest quandary now for a CTO and a CEO, right? Because, first you gotta, how do you balance your immediate business? Like, you gotta keep the lights on, keep the money coming in, but at the same time, then you gotta start investing in the long term. How do you keep that balance? Is that a quandary, Belinda?
So I think the exciting thing about digital and technology is there are 1,001 ways that we can do it, and that's also the biggest challenge, right? So to me, the biggest challenge for us is how do we prioritize? How do we ensure that we are not solving everything with a sledgehammer? Sometimes you just need like a small tweak. And I think at Mandai, what we've done is we've taken the entire technology index maturity model very seriously. So it's rated from 1 to 10. Anything 8, 9, 10, you can buy something off the shelf, integrate, tweak, and all that. Something 1 to 2 is almost like primary research, and then you've got the 3 to 5, and then the 5 to 7s. So we actually take every project and map it against this maturity scale and say, okay, what kind of approach do we need to embrace? Something that has worked very well for us is that we've got about 16 departments out of our 20-odd departments that are enrolled in a special interest group where we empower our people to embrace low-code, no-code, out of which, you know, like our animal care team, our procurement team, our sustainability team, our education team have all created their own apps with low-code, no-code. All right, and these are like your zookeepers, your educators, you know, people who have zero tech background are able to very, very systematically identify their processes, what needs to be done, and then with our help, create tools to automate, right? And the savings are in the 3-4 digits in terms of man hours per month. So that is something that I feel needs more propagation, right? And then, of course, the more experimental one, like Gen AI, there's a very small group that looks at it and say, how do we create a use case that is powerful, that can win the trust of our board, right, our senior management, so that we can scale. So I think it's not one size fits all, and we really need to see how we can empower the entire employee base to embrace this and be less fearful. So we're very happy because it's not us sharing the digitization or technology message, it's my zookeeper. Yeah. Right, or it's my park operations manager. It's my, you know, cook in the kitchen who is doing these messages and sharing this and their success stories.
Yeah, and it seems like right now everybody's just got this wonderful new toolbox of readily available products, and it's really, as you say, a mindset change, right? You know, if somebody just wants to play with it, they should be playing with it, right? Byron, how about you? How you know, as a small business, how do you balance that?
Yeah, I think you put it exactly right. As a small business, I hear what the both of you are sharing, and I want some of that. Yeah, because
integration hub, you know.
Yeah, well, integration hub, a team to look at this innovation, you know, and we don't have an innovation team. We don't have a team specifically to look at what can be explored in the future. For small businesses, it has to be founder-led. It has to be. There's no one else in the company to look at this. And like you said, we really have to balance between do we want to prioritize existing business needs, or do we want to explore something that could potentially lead to future pipelines in the future, right? I don't have a good answer. I wish we had a better structure to do this. But what I can say is that the founders need to believe in the first place, right? That there is potential over there. And if the founders believe, then they can lead the way and they can drive this. And then slowly it will diffuse down to the rest of the team. Right. I guess one of the challenges that both of them mentioned also is, how do you convince the rest of the organization to take this on? And I really applaud Mandai, you know, if your zookeepers and your cooks are really taking this on. I'm thinking about how can I convince my whole army of tour guides, right, to really take on a new platform and to use it.
Right, but at the same time, like you say, it has to be founder-led, but it also has to be CEO-led. It has to absolutely be CEO-led, right? So, okay, so now let's talk about animals, because I love animals, and I'm interested in, because just as the human-machine interface is being revolutionized, I think the human-animal interface needs much more loving care, right? You know, to protect biodiversity in our planet. So, give us some examples of how tech is being used in this area for animal care, because as a new generation of travelers come, they might not want to necessarily see animals in enclosures, right? You know, so how are you balancing that?
Yeah. So I think first and foremost in the new precinct development, you would see that, for example, Bird Paradise, the design of the exhibit, it's not human and animal separated. It's us walking into the aviary, right? We are in the habitat of the animals under our human care. So I think from a non-tech, it's more a physical design perspective, we have forged that closer connection. Maybe if you indulge me a little bit, right? Because when I look at, we spend a lot of time with families with kids, right? And we look at the day in the life of a child. He or she wakes up, goes to school, takes the school bus, comes home, goes to tuition, goes to bed, right? Rinse and repeat, right? Almost 5 or 6 days a week. And where is those interactions with nature and wildlife, right? They don't really exist. So when they come to Mandai Wildlife Reserve, I think that is the opportunity for them to really appreciate. And we've got 21,000 animals under our care, 21,000 across 1,000 species. Of which 30% are actually endangered, right, at risk of extinction. And so how do you look after 21,000 animals across 1,000 species, right? A lot of digitization can help. So we've experimented with a few things, and some of these has already scaled. We were the ones who came up with the world's first Zookeeper app. So the Zookeeper app allows us to track the care that we provide for our animals. And so things like, you know, we are very mindful about not just their diet, but their enrichment. Right? Enrichment means that they are also happy and healthy, right? So all these are being monitored and tracked, analyzed. We also have an environmental logger, so making sure that, you know, the ambient conditions are also very positive for the animals. And all these get fed into a dashboard. So it's more like a command center. So if you think about once a year, we go for our executive health screen, right? And then you have their many pages. So for me, over the past few years, every year it's like, okay, red flag, red flag, red flag, right? So we have something like this that we are aiming to automate for our animals, that we don't need to do that manual monitoring, data collection anymore, that our animals would have this automated dashboard so that we know the health of them, and we are already successfully scaling this in a very positive way. I mean,
that's fantastic. So you have to look after 21,000 animals across 1,000 species, and you are personalizing their health and happiness, right? So I'm going to come to you, Kevin. We talked about hyper-personalization, the possibilities, right? Which is still kind of pie in the sky, right? But how do you see a day when you might be able to absolutely personalize for the hundreds of thousands of guests that you get, where you're actually looking after their individual happiness and health?
I think absolutely, and that comes with the technology advancement. If you look at some of the personalization work these days, there's a lot of self-service. The old generation of travelers and the new generation of travelers, they have very different habits, a very different way of wanting to engage with the hotel or with the service department that we run. The younger generation, they don't mind doing self-check-in. Actually, they don't even need to talk to anybody. They hope that they could just self-check-in, get a key, go to their hotel, do what they want. I'll contact you. You don't have to talk to me. And if I want, you know, I can text you for my needs, and then you serve me. So when you have such a behavioral change, that customization comes quite naturally, because you can study the behavior patterns of a particular guest. Don't get in the way if they don't want to, but some of them may like to talk to you or want to get more attention from you, more traditional kind of hospitality touches, and then you get in front of them. So I think with the implementation of some of this data collection, as well as studying of the behavior of different customer patterns, we'll be able to actually deliver very targeted and personalized service to our guests.
Look forward to the day, you know. So, okay, so we got 8 minutes, and I'm going to run through the rest of the questions, right? So, other than AI, one emerging technology that you're keeping a close watch on?
I'm going to say two. I think the sustainability tech is one area that I look very closely to see what are the areas or new technology that we can bring in to help sustainability. Another one that I'm actually keeping an eye on is quantum computing, because that is another change that could fundamentally look at how all our applications and software and the way that we go around conducting our lives can change very fundamentally.
Okay. Belina?
For me, it would be Web 3.0 and mixed reality. I think it took a bit of a backseat recently. But I think for me, strategically, I do not want Mandai or Singapore to ever be in a situation like COVID where it can happen, where tourism stops for whatever reason and the livelihoods of our people, the care of our animals ever gets threatened. So how does somebody enjoy Singapore remotely without having ever to come to Singapore is for me a strategic area that as a country and as an organization we want to work very hard to experiment and innovate.
That's cool, like a Mandai forever.
Absolutely.
Fantastic, okay. Byron?
I have two also. The first one would be, in the realm of experiences, are there any wearable techs, right, that could enhance the customer's experience? I mean, well, we've heard about Apple Vision Pro, we know about Oculus. Is there anything else? The other one that, as a tour operator, we're quite interested in is there anything that can bridge the language barrier? Yeah, and this one may be related to AI, right? Like something where the guide speaks in English, but you automatically hear it in your ear in your own native language. I think that would be amazing.
Fantastic. Okay, so what is the biggest opportunity for tourism businesses in Singapore today in terms of deploying tech?
I think Singapore is a very connected place. We do have a lot of tech accessibility.